Real Talk with Mo. Glad you could join me. You only get the real. Check me out, www.cblifestyleapparel.com, www.cblifeeveryday, www.cblifewellness. Real Talk with Mo, Lou and Mo podcast. We got a lot of things in the works, everything moving, right? Like my boy said, slow motion is better than no motion. So let's get it. I want to talk about something real quick. And I got on a little bit last time, but like I say, again, I'm not a preacher, I'm not a pastor. I'm a Christian, and I believe in God, I believe in Jesus Christ, but I'm not the historian, or I'm not gonna be able to, tell you that I read the whole Bible front to back and could give you every scripture and every verse that you've ever heard. But there's one thing I know about the country that's missing is, I think it's God. I think it's some sort of authority. And the reason why I say this, I get into this. In any structure, man, there's always a leader, right? There's always somebody who's gonna lead when times are bad, times are good, right? When to keep everything in order. There's always going to be a leader in any structure, man. It could be a bad, we can go from the bad to the worst, right? If it's a gang, there's a structure, right? There's authority that you don't cross. There's rules, there's laws that you don't cross, right? In gangs, in the mob, right? In a business, right? In the world, etc., etc. So there's always a structure, there's always somebody at the top, there's always a hierarchy of some sort, to where, and there's always some laws or some type of, just way to live your life. And I think, we start living for man, right? So now we live under man's laws, man's structures. And then we break them. Then we bend those rules. We bend them. We break them because there's no consequences for doing it when you're looking at man's laws, right? If you're a mob or you're the gang, you got consequences, but the only person you're gonna fear is man. So sometimes that's not enough fear, right? It's not enough respect or enough to make you, sometimes want to think twice before you do something. And there's always that fact of, I'd rather be feared than loved type of thing. But I think it's a fear, a good fear, like a good, it's just like when a stove is hot, right? You fear the stove, but you don't fear it enough to where you won't use it. And I don't know if that, makes perfect sense, but it's certain things. Like if you see a pool of sharks, you fear it enough to not jump in. Right? Some people might jump in still because I see people swim with sharks and craziness like that. But But you fear it enough to know better not to do it, right? But you don't maybe not fear the sharks per se. I think the stove analogy is probably a little better. Like you know what it is used for. You're just not gonna touch it with your hand. You're gonna use it for what it's used for. And I think that's the same way I'm saying about with structures, the laws, right? There's got to be some type of law. I know, and there's people that don't believe in that. To be honest with you, if you don't really know, there's like people that are anarchists, and they don't really believe in really too much of anything structure-wise. And I think we're getting further away from, a higher authority, which I would say is, religion, right? Because at the end of the day, man, as a youngin', for real, I don't remember even worrying about death. We used to do some crazy stuff, and I didn't worry about dying. I didn't even think about it, to be honest with you. Now I'm older, I'm 40 years old. It crosses my mind. I know it's coming eventually, right? I'm going to get older, right? And, your age, you die at a certain age, man. You don't live that long. Some people live to 100. Some people live to 70. Some people live to 60. So you know that as you get older. But when you're young, you don't care, right? There's no fear. You feared more. You didn't really fear anything, to be honest with you. For me, for sure. And I'm just speaking for myself, but that's why when you're young you do some wild stuff. But and the further you get away from religion, when we get older, we still I think we don't have that authority to fear, especially when you're doing bad things, right? When you're doing things you ain't supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? I think there was an argument between Sam Harris and I want to say Jordan Peterson, maybe. Well, yeah, it was probably those two. And he was saying like we're born with these values and these values, or this like um, not to kill, not to steal. And I don't think that's true, man. Like I believe I agree with Jordan Peterson on this. I don't think that that's true, because you know what I mean? I don't think we're born thinking like that. That's society that pushes us that way, but it's a good thing, because if not, there'd be chaos, right? And we have a little bit of that now. Is the point of there's no consequences for your actions, right? You could go out there, do whatever you want to do in some cities, some places, and not have any consequences for your actions, right? Get away with it, go home, right? Go do it again, right? No consequences. They're little consequences. They're not enough to make you like fear it. And then we don't believe in God in the same manner. So now it's even worse, because now you're not even worried about it, right? And you're not even worried about any type of consequences. Before, if you look at, because you know God is always watching, so for you to go out and do something, you were seen doing it, right? And now we got to a point, like I said, where we don't even believe in the word or whatever. So now we make excuses of why we did shit, why you did bad shit, and we justify it through somebody interpreting the Bible in a certain way to make it sound like we were doing it for this and this and this and this, right? You see it all the time, man. You see it all the time. We justify bad behavior. We justify doing silly, stupid shit, right? And then some people will justify it on the other end with the Bible verse, right? They'll pull a verse out of the Bible and say, "This is it. This is see, and he says this and this and this," and they'll misinterpret it and they'll flip it around, and it gets to the point where you don't even believe in God, because now everything sounds like it's contradiction, right? Like everything is unbelievable, like it's not true, right? And we keep doing that, and we justify bad behavior, and we're getting further away, and you can see it. You can see the social media. You can see where we're going with it, how people can't even like, you know what I mean? Like they can't even have a conversation anymore. And it used to be, like God, no, don't judge people and all that. And that's true. You're gonna get judged, right? But a lot of people used to follow these rules, right? That's the rules that we had. Now we don't do that. Like we'll justify killing, right? We'll justify, no matter who it is, we'll justify murder, right? We'll justify stealing, right? We justify adultery. We justify them. They came up with reasons to make it so that you can go do it and not feel bad about it. And if you don't see something wrong with that, then I think you need to open your eyes, man. Because even if you don't believe in a higher power, right? You don't believe in God, right? The rules are society rules, right? They're societal rules that make societies work. No society works without the rules and the laws. No society, right? You can't name a society that didn't have rules and laws. Either they were made by a ruler, a dictator, or something. But if they were a working society and they worked well, they had rules. They had certain laws you can't bypass, right? You can't pass. And somebody made them up. Whoever it was whoever was running that at the time. But they helped that society to flourish. There's no society you can go back to and tell me that it doesn't work like that. If not, you have chaos, because everybody has different rules. Everybody interprets rules differently. If we were just allowed everybody right now to go and do what they wanted to do and thought was right, we'd have chaos. And it's kind of like craziness is, I think about it now, it's kind of like with Babylon, right? And again, I'm not no preacher, pastor. These things that's come to my head, I've heard, I've read the stories, I've did this and that, so I'm not going to give you the breakdown details and all that. But, like with Babylon, right? Building the Tower to Babylon, and then all of a sudden they're dispersed because they speak different languages. That's kind of like how we are now, right? We are like that, going down that path now, is because we speak in different languages. You telling me stealing is okay, I'm telling you it's not. You telling me, it's only justified in this situation, I'm telling you that don't make no sense. You're telling me it's justified in this situation and this situation, but not in this situation. Then somebody else is like, it's justified in this situation, not this situation, right? So we all over the place. We speak in different languages, right? And that's crazy to me, but that's exactly the path we're going down, right? And we got to come back to, that's why I said, when we losing religion, we losing, that higher authority. And I know I listen to Ben Shapiro a lot, and he talks about, like, he doesn't use that when he's explaining a law, or he's trying to make a point. He doesn't use a higher authority on certain aspects, just because if you don't believe in God, then it makes no sense. But I think that's a bad path now, because a lot of people, they're not believing, so they don't even believe you when you say that this is, they don't believe you, so they don't believe anybody anymore, right? And it's like, I just think, man, when we start losing, God, we start losing a higher authority that would, give you consequences for your actions. Because right now, back in the day, you think about, you did something, even like divorce was real serious, like you couldn't get divorced, right? But because you were worried about you and the reckoning, right? You and meeting God later and what would happen, right? And now you don't even think about it no more, right? Murder, you don't even think about it no more. You justify it. Like I said, every one of the sins, right? Disobeying, honoring thy mother and father, all that, right? You don't even care about it no more, because you don't even care that you're gonna have to one day meet with God and explain yourself, because you don't care about it anymore. You don't believe no more, right? And I think that's a bad path to go down. That's my main point of this video. Is it's a bad path, man. I think we're going down a bad path. We need to bring, we need to bring religion back, right? Whatever your religion is, right? I don't want to go back and forth between, like, Judaism, Christianity, Catholicism, all that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying those brought us to at least a point where we could agree, right? Because even in those religions, right, that are so similar, right? They believe in God. Even Muslims, right, believe in God, just believe in a different, I want to say, Messiah, right? They believe, Muslims believe in Muhammad, and Christians believe in Jesus Christ, right? And Judaism, they don't believe in Jesus, but they believe in God, right? Catholicism believes more about married, and you know what I mean? I don't want to get into all that, but those things, at least we believe in a higher power, that higher authority, which is God, which at the end of the day, your actions will be judged by him. So make good actions is my point, right? That's the whole thing, right? At the end of the day, you're going to be judged, right? And that's going to end up you either being in hell or you being in heaven. So make good choices, because you don't want to go to hell, right? Eternal fire type of thing. So, and we fear that, right? We don't fear it no more, because we've come to listen to man. Man has justified everything to us, right? And then he justified of why, and then he tried to justify that God is not real. Then he tried to justify this and that, but he can't explain everything either, right? And this is my point. I just want to make a quick point. He can't explain everything either, right? We can explain stuff to a certain point, right? I'll tell you, even with science, I always look at it and they always explain the Big Bang Theory. And I'm like, but you can't explain what started the Big Bang. You really can't even explain the Big Bang. It's a theory, right? So you're gonna get to a point where you don't have the answers, right? But instead of giving people something that they can believe in and move on with and help them to grow and thus be better, they don't want you to believe in anything. And I'm not saying and I hate to say when I say they or this and that, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist. I'm not. I'm just saying the truth about when people start going down these routes, they push their thoughts on you, right? Because they don't believe in anything. They don't want you to believe in anything. They think it's dumb. And I think that we're going down a bad route with that. That's all I'm saying. I think we need to get closer back with God, back with some sort of authority, some sort of higher power, right? And then then the path goes. Because if not, like I said, man, people make up anything. You put your faith in man, he's going to let you down, right? We always had, we always get these higher authority figures and we follow them and they tell us this and that, and then they go and do the opposite and they go and live a different life, and it's always about making money. It's always about earning more, which I always go back to this, and I said this in my other videos, right? We have 6 characteristics. We're ambitious, greedy, lazy, vain, ignorant, and selfish, right? We're all those 6 characteristics, every human, every 8 billion humans, right? So the only way to really overcome those sometimes is to think about, because right now, right, because with in now you have all the power, right? But you got to think about yourself. You don't have all the power, right? You're not the all-seeing person. You're not the higher authority, right? You have somebody higher than you, right? And that's God. So now it's like he sees everything I do, even in the dark, right? It comes to the light. Even in the dark, he makes it come to the light. And now I have to worry about my actions, because those consequences are very detrimental to my afterlife and my life. So I just want people to look at that in a different way, man. I think that'll help out a lot. So, check me out, Real Talk with Mo, CB Lifestyle Apparel is the wear. Back at it again.